Hello. So, I just found out about this interview with Jordan Peterson and Dr. Sarah Hill, and um, it jived really nicely with um, a discussion I had with Coroneus Phocis. His name is Brent. um, that's linked in the description. Frankly, I would actually prefer if somebody could come on, was willing to come on. Not a lot of people watching, but so we could have a discussion about the types of stuff that she talks about. She just wrote a book. This is your brain on the pill, and um, Paul Vanderklay did included some of this in one of his videos, but honestly, I don't think he spent enough time talking about everything that's here that's important, and there's a lot here that's important. Part of the craziness that I am hoping Fountain of Comfort can actually um, address is the fact that um, so much of psychology has stopped being, so much of academia in general has stopped being scientific, really scientific. I actually went and listened to the rest of the interview. They do about half an hour after the the interview that's available on YouTube on the Daily Wire, and that was even better, more excellent. Um, I mean, Dr. Peterson, uh, Jordan Peterson, keeps on saying to her, "You're really trying to get canceled." So one of the things she mentioned um, when she started graduate school in anthropology, and she was very interested in evolutionary psychology and bringing real science into the study of anthropology. Um, uh, um, wow, I might end up having guests. I'm not really prepared for guests. Um, so, and yes, I'm in Los Angeles. If you're in Los Angeles and you want to ever stop by, please do let me know. You are more than welcome, whoever you are. Um, so she she wanted to study anthropology, evolutionary psychology, and how evolutionary psychology, like she's one of these Brett Weinstein type uh, people who just finds the elegance and the beauty of evolution as a um, explanatory theory incredibly incredibly powerful. And she started her graduate work at University of Texas Austin, and Sandy,
Hello.
Hello, Sandy. How you doing?
Good.
Did you watch the interview?
I watched something, but no, I want to hear about it.
Um, so what I was saying, uh, wow, looks like Jack's gonna show up with
Nice.
some family. Uh, you know Jack, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, if it's who I think it is.
Uh, yeah, he
No.
hasn't been on the channel many times, but he's the one who babysits Shadow for me. So um, yeah.
Nice.
So, this Dr. Hill, Sarah Hill is her name, I believe. I forget what her name was. Sarah Hill, yeah. So she really is into the explanatory power of evolutionary psychology, and um, she started graduate school in anthropology at the University of Texas Austin, and she got called a bunch of names. They called her a racist and misogynist and white supremacist and all kinds of things, and she she was devastated by it, but she took a class in evolutionary psychology from somebody I did not know, David Buss. um, um, and they and he's a professor in evolutionary psychology, and um, so that's why she ended up getting her PhD in psychology at University of Texas, and she teaches at Texas Christian University, which has been very supportive. And one of the things that um, Jordan Peterson said was he thinks that if that at the rate we're going, the only place evolution can be taught is at Christian universities.
Oh, the irony.
um, no, I mean it.
It's interesting.
Like the things she says in the video, they're very they're very real and true. Um, and like scientifically, there's nothing you can say to refute them. So Coroneus Phocis, I did I did an interview with him. So he created a link in the description. He did a series on the effects of the birth control pill. He has 5 daughters, um, and you know, it's a really interesting series. But the reason I, I mean, what in my discussion with him, what I kept on saying is, okay, Brent, his name is Brent. Why is it that it's you and I who are talking about this, right? Two people who
Mhm.
know no business. Like this is something that should be discussed by people who are, you know, actual research scientists. And that was my question and continues to be my question. And when I saw this interview, it was like, oh, finally, people who have been thinking about this deeply. And um, she really seems to be scientifically inclined, which
Yeah.
unfortunately is rare in psychology. There's
Yeah.
the so much of psychology like doesn't want to admit that our biology affects things, right? I I don't think any of my courses are courses on biology in my master's degree. Um, I don't think a lot of people take biology um, seriously when they
Do
look at this stuff.
do they even offer the science courses as part of the psychology studies? Like, when I went through, no, not where I went, or it wasn't suggested.
I mean, it's like you would think, and one of the things she says she found most embarrassing was she was doing a she was doing all this research on how hormones affect your psychology, and she said she suddenly realized, oh, I've been on the pill for
Mm.
all this time. And she said it was one of the most embarrassing things, recognizing, oh, I never thought about what it's doing to me and my psychology.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so honestly, a lot of the stuff they talked about in the last half hour was even more interesting, which is behind the paywall on the Daily Wire, is even more interesting than the things they said in this video. But the video was pretty, I mean, it wasn't anything new. One of the things that was surprising for me was she obviously had not watched um, Peterson's famous interviews with that woman from um, what's her name? The what you're saying is, you know who I'm talking about. He has two famous interviews
Yeah, the
with females, and
blonde.
yeah, that
Um, yeah, I watched it twice.
yeah, Peterson. So
Her name.
um, there's her picture. Kathy Newman.
Yeah,
Kathy Newman, and the other one was I think her name is Helen Thomas.
I didn't
Uh,
watch that one.
it's actually the more watched one.
Okay.
Helen Lewis, not Helen Thomas. Yeah, the with GQ, and that's actually that one actually has more views than the one with Kathy Newman.
Okay.
And but I mean, he's basically the same, saying the same thing over and over again. And Helen Lewis has actually made kind of her career has become trying to trying to criticize Jordan Peterson. Like that's the most fame I think she'll ever have, is as a critic of Jordan Peterson. Uh, but I mean, we can watch the interview if you haven't watched it.
No, I haven't watched it.
Yeah, I was wondering if I hope I don't get a copyright. I don't think I'll get. He does copyright strikes for people who do things on his YouTube, but we'll see. Well, Jack is here. I am going to do a 4 minute countdown, and I will be back. Um,
Yeah, I'm still waiting for Jacob to come back, but I'm reading the about Dr. Sarah Hill on the topic that he was wanting to talk about, because I have not seen the interview he was referencing. So he's talking about how we have he's talking about hormones, and I'm reading this article from The Guardian about how, well, heck, here, this is what I'm reading. I don't know what he's going to talk about, but he's going to talk about an interview she did, but let's see. This is what I'm reading just to do a catch up because I have not seen the article. Don't know if that's going to. Yeah, so things you don't think about, things I didn't think about. Leading to, see, other receptors. I want to figure out what interview he was. Okay, so he was talking about with, I think, the Sarah Hill interview. She did an interview with Tammy Peterson. Who else has she done an interview with recently? 3 weeks ago, she talked to Peterson. This is hang on. Let me go to, he's got all the links in the description. I don't know if that, probably have to copy paste that. Doesn't look like a live link, but that's one of the videos he's got linked in the description. Go to the description and you can see he was talking also about his conversation with Coroneus Phocis. Why? Mental story of the female series. Distributed cognition. 2022. I think he's talking about his conversation with her. Jacob, where are you? I would go in and put his timer back on, but he's gone. Somebody's come to the door. Jack. Jack? No. What did he say? Anyway. Did anybody actually watch the Jordan Peterson interview with Sarah Hill that wants to come on and talk? Or he has a Coroneus Phocis one listed from 2022. Distributed cognition. Discord. Let's go back here for a second. And transcend. Oh. All right. Nathaniel, are you wanting to jump on and talk? Did you watch these? It only says 5 minutes. Oh, that might be it. Let's see. I don't see Coroneus Phocis in his list. It was probably on the other channel. Okay. Do you have a 2-story apartment?
Wrong Jack. It was a different Jack.
Oh.
Yes. So what were you guys talking about while I was gone?
Nothing. I said I was looking up the links in your the links that you shared, but that's very hard once I'm already in StreamYard. I didn't know how to go find them because it throws me right back into StreamYard. So, I was trying to do I found the one, but I was trying to do just a random search to find the other one in case anybody was interested in them. So,
hello, Joseph. I don't know you, but shalom. Yeah, so wrong Jack. I was wondering, and then when I saw which Jack it was, I was like, oh, that Jack. He's in town with his family. But I couldn't just leave them. so I had to go say hi and stuff. Very nice. So this was Jack, one of the Mormon missionaries I've met.
Okay.
And he went home a little while ago, and he came back with his family to visit Los Angeles, to see Los Angeles. And so, yeah, he wanted to introduce them to that strange Jew he met.
Yeah.
And the first thing his father said to me was, "You gave him the same advice I did about getting married." So they're talking about getting married in the summer. So
Are you
yeah.
invited?
I better be. Jack is probably going to come on the channel, I'm hoping. And
Good.
yeah, Jack's a good guy.
That's good.
Yeah.
I was trying to do a quick read of a Guardian article to see if I could, get a quick take on Sarah Hill.
Oh,
She was talking about, just because you had started with
pull
that.
up. Let me see. Let me see if I can pull it up. That's interesting. I'm sure the Guardian doesn't like her.
I don't know. It was just I'm only halfway through because I saw Andrew had posted Jacob's gone. Suggested
Jacob was gone.
Mm-hmm.
He's watching a murder mystery with mom. Is he talking about my channel, or he's talking or is he actually watching a murder, or is his mom going to murder me? I don't know. I do not know. Dr. Sarah A. Hill. We have a blind spot about how the pill influences women's brains. It's an interview. The social psychologist's new book tackles the tricky subject of how oral contraceptives may affect women's minds.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, their very first question. Some U.S. states have recently made it harder to get an abortion, and the Trump administration is doing its best to chisel away at access to birth control. Is your book trying to dissuade women from using the pill? This is in 2019.
Yeah, it's not new.
Huh. When I looked up her book, it looked like it had been recently. This is your brain on. It says it came out in paperback, July 11th, 2023. The hardcover came out in 2019.
That'll be why.
I see. Yeah, the paperback came out recently. I mean, not so recently, but July this year.
This kind of surprised me, though, because it said listing how the pill actually works. In the article, I was like, progesterone. Why would they give somebody progesterone to? But it says it's involved in the egg production, which really surprises me.
Well, progesterone is what tells your body that you're pregnant.
It also gives it the thumbs up. That's why I kept losing babies. I didn't have enough. So I was like, oh, wow, that's weird. So apparently it's day 1 and month 3.
So, I have actually been kind of sort of championing the copper IUD. I think that's probably the best option for birth control.
Dumb question.
Yeah,
because they were totally out of favor when I was having kids.
Mm.
Mostly because of some, like my one cousin got pregnant while she had one of the old ones in back when we were
IUDs?
while we were raising families, and they were having trouble with babies being born with them like embedded if they got pregnant and didn't.
Yeah, but a copper IUD works differently.
That's what I was going to ask. So they
Yeah.
have come up with a new technique.
So the problem with the copper IUD for Christians is Christians believe in life at conception. And what the copper IUD does is it makes it difficult, if not impossible, for the fertilized egg to implant. And so for Christians, I think a lot of Christians would say that that's whatchamacallit.
Oh, they would say that was
That's abortion. Yeah.
I want them to change the name completely, and I'm probably the only person who does.
Change the name of IUDs?
No, the whole abortion debate, because technically a miscarriage is not a miscarriage, it's a spontaneous abortion. And if the baby dies and you need to deal with it, you have a D&C abortion. And so I'm kind of like, having gone through some of the pitfalls of parenting before you actually get to the parenting part. Some of the conversations the last 30 years have kind of irked me, because it just little triggering and not really useful. I wish they would come up with another way around what they want to talk.
I mean, I think the wording is deliberate. I think that the people, unfortunately, we have a lot of terminology wars, and there's I think there's deliberate terminology wars, and there's a lot of people who deliberately don't want the amount of nuance that there should be. And generally, I would say most of those are people on the left.
I'm still get confused about left and right, but which is funny. I have great direction sense when I'm driving, but
yeah. But I mean, I didn't want to get into that as much as just
then we won't.
Just the real serious, like psychologically, too many people are not paying attention to how we are embodied physically. I guess we could watch the interview and comment as we go.
For about 20 years that when women are in the point in the cycle when estrogen is high, that's associated with an increased preference for testosterone cues. And this, of course, begs the question, well, then what happens if a woman is on hormonal birth control and is never in the estrogen dominant phase of her cycle? Then what happens? And researchers have since asked that question. And what they tend to find is that women who are on hormonal birth control desire a somewhat less masculine male face and male voice. And there's been some research even showing that if women chose their partners when they're on hormonal birth control and then discontinue it, that this can lead to changes in how they perceive and how attracted they are to their partner.
So, I mean, that's incredibly important. If you're on birth control when you are choosing your partner and then go off birth control, like, hello? And yeah.
So all birth control would up the progesterone?
I mean, when you're talking about the pill, it messes with your hormones.
So,
I mean, that's what the birth control pill is. It's messing with your hormones.
Right.
And if you recognize that changes how you I mean, whichever way you do it,
was just
you're
thinking
messing with
of,
with your psychology.
interesting. Yeah, I actually messaged my son, said, "Hey, did you take any of this stuff or notice any of this stuff?" Because he went through sciences and was talking to
Oh,
me
they
about
don't
the
talk
hormone.
about this stuff. No, see, this is the thing. In our, I mean, that was my whole discussion with Coroneus Phocis, is we don't actually discuss this stuff.
People should talk about it.
They should, but they don't. So this is part of the realignment because of the internet. We don't have the gatekeepers we used to.
Because I was going to say, even knowing that hormones can affect some, like that, not being a girl and having male hormones in me was an interesting thing, and the fact that they could have an impact on how my body would interpret signals, around a pregnancy was a surprise to me. I figured guys got male hormones, girls got girl hormones, and I didn't study sciences, and nobody brings it up.
Nobody brings it up, even if you do study sciences. Even if you study biology, nobody brings it up, which is the problem.
Interesting.
It's a real problem. It's a very, very real problem. Okay, so let's see what Dr. Peterson said.
Hello, everyone watching and listening. Today, I'm speaking with researcher, professor, and author, Dr. Sarah Hill. We discuss her new landmark book, This Is Your Brain on Birth Control, The Surprising Science of Women, Hormones, and the Law of Unintended Consequences. We break down and analyze sex-based differences in regret, competition, and academic striving, the balance between life exposure and safeguarding when raising a child, the practice of mate choice copying among women, and why our hormones are a foundational part not just of our physical makeup, but of who we are most deeply and who we have the potential to become. So, Sarah, I thought for years that the 20th century would basically be remembered for three things: the hydrogen bomb, the transistor, the microchip, and the pill. And that the pill was perhaps the most revolutionary of the three, and that it was also equivalent to a speciation mutation, that's how profound it is. Now, the first chapter of your...
I'm surprised he doesn't include the internet in that, although I guess it didn't play a huge part in the 20th century.
book, This Is Your Brain on Birth Control, is what is a woman? And that's become a trope and a satirical cliche. And people laugh at the fact that it's even being posed, but I actually don't think it's that funny.
So in 2019, they were talking about what is a woman. I don't know that was a thing all the way back in 2019.
I don't recall hearing it. But timing wise, like, I think a lot of women's conversations changed after 2018. So it wouldn't surprise me if people were talking about...
When did the film What is a Woman come out?
Oh, it was after that, I thought.
Yeah, it's 2022.
Yeah, like it was recent.
Yeah.
Okay, then maybe they based the film off of...
No, they based it off... I mean,
I know what they based it off, but I meant the title for this.
Yeah, I'm surprised her book, but yeah, it's kind of weird. That this is... What can you say?
Because I think that with the advent of hypothetically 100% reliable birth control, the question of what is a woman actually becomes a real question. Because a woman who has voluntary control over her reproductive function is not the same creature as a woman who doesn't, and not even a little bit. And so then the question, so it's imagine this, and then we can talk through the book.
Okay, so but this interview is 3 weeks ago, right? Or is it that recent?
It's December 7th. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So
I only found out about it today. I think he overstates the case. The Talmud already talks about women taking taking some sort of herb that prevented them from having children. So women were in fact using various, I guess they would call them abortificants,
Oh yeah, other cultures too.
thousands of years.
Really,
Yeah.
yeah, for a long time. Not necessarily safe, but yeah, they were.
Yeah. So I'm not sure he's as correct about that as he thinks.
If sex,
I mean, I think they're reliable. To say that it was reliable, yeah, but like still.
is no longer tied to reproduction, then in principle, women's sexual behavior can become equivalent to men's sexual behavior because the risk is now the same. If women are acting like men sexually, then why aren't they men? Like, how are they different? And then if
the risk is not the same, women contract sexually transmitted diseases from men in much higher rates than the other way around.
And there are very logical reasons for that.
Yeah.
if sex is no longer tied to reproduction tightly, and women are free from involuntary child rearing and bearing, then how are they different from men in the broader?
And infanticide has been a thing. I mean, so he's assuming a very modern Christian sensibility, which, frankly, infanticide was a thing, and women. I mean, they can abandon their children. They don't want to, but they can.
labor market and with regards to general productivity? And the answer is we have absolutely no idea. And that's why the question comes up. So I'd like to know, why did you start the book with this question? What is a woman? What the way you open something is obviously to some degree the way you frame it. So why did that phrase jump out at you?
Well, for me, it was really important because so my background is in evolutionary biology. And so I spent most of my career trying to understand behavior using the lens of Darwin's theory of evolution by selection. And one of the big, sort of paramounts of that theory and something that's really a cornerstone to it is the differences between the sexes, right? And that you have biological males and biological females. And how do we define them? How do we define what is a male, what is a female? And what a male is the sex that has the smaller mobile gametes, that has less investment in offspring. And females have the metabolically expensive immobile gametes, and they have a relatively large minimum investment. And so one of the big ways and sort of the foundation of all reliably occurring sex differences in all sexually reproducing species are these small differences. And this doesn't seem like it would be that big of a deal. Like, wow, like your sex cells are smaller than my sex cells, like who cares? But that actually turns out to be completely foundational in terms of setting the stage for different minimum levels of investment in offspring, which then sets the stage for the evolution of sex differences.
Okay. So let's dive into that a little bit because
I think they don't spend enough time during this talking about the dyad. I didn't really like the word dyad when I started encountering it in psychological literature. It just means two, right? Mm-hmm. A dyad is just two people, right? But I think the study of psychology really does talk about the dyad a lot, because you start seeing that two people together are not the same as two people individually. And truly human beings, like pair bonding, mating one to one, like this whole idiotic polyamory stupidity that's just been growing in like human beings are a matched pair. They are. And so when I think of that joke, the war of the sexes will never be won because there's too much fraternization with the enemy, right?
I've not heard that, but
Like this idea of women and men. So one of the things that is, it says in the Code of Jewish Law that a man who is not married is not considered human, right? And I say this, and people really chafe at it. Even Father Stephen kind of chafed at it. And it's
a hard saying.
it is, but an atomistic individual human being is just not a functioning human being. Simply not at all. Antonia said censored by early Christians, I'm pretty sure. No, actually, that part of the Code of Jewish Law was never censored as far as I know. Although that would have been interesting if it had been. Yeah, so.
But that's, I mean, they're gonna talk about this from a scientific perspective, psychological, scientific perspective.
Mm.
But you cannot, well, maybe you can. I don't think people can exist in the world without realizing that connecting to somebody else is a real thing. They can pretend it isn't.
Mm.
But whether or not parents connect, whether a couple connects, passes down to the children even. I mean, there is a whole... I remember way back in the day, you know, people used to talk about pheromones and things, and I had friends that were into some of that stuff where you'd talk about how do you, like, how do you sense other people? And I'm like, okay, so on some level, everybody talks about engagement of people interacting.
Mm.
I can remember it strikes me because I have been married twice, we'll say. The first time I advocated and actively tried to initiate sort of the kind of bonding that you would talk about when you say people are meant to be together. Like Christians will talk about a pair should be a man and a woman. Same as you look at, like animals go into the ark, however they want to talk about it.
Mm.
There's more to that than just simply saying, hey, I notice here's a guy, here's a girl. Great, get married. No, you actually engage somebody. And it's not a word we use for some funky thing these days that we call the premarital stuff. Like you don't just go through an engagement period, you actually connect somehow.
Mm.
That has to be part of what the hormones do, what those elements of us are geared to do, is to create something that says you're going to stick it out with this person.
Yeah, the bonding. Yeah,
it's supposed to happen. Yeah.
And that's partially why I think getting married early is so important. That it's funny, like that's what I was telling Jack. So he was telling me, well, we're gonna wait until we graduate college. It's like, there's what? Why are you waiting to graduate college?
I know logically, probably.
I mean, you don't have to have kids. And if you know you're going to be marrying this person, which he seems very like they've been together for 3 years. And like they were together while he was away for 2 years on his mission. And they're back together. And it's like, dude, just get married.
That's a big deal.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
a commitment right there already.
Yeah. Okay, we've gotten 5 minutes into this.
Watch.
Oh,
Too much.
wow. So Antonio actually found this. In order not to offend celibate monks and Jesus himself, who was unmarried, one Christian censor of the Talmud changed a text which originally read, and now I'm wondering which text it might have been that an unmarried man. Is that from the Talmud? I don't know if it is. An unmarried man is not a man in the full sense of the word. Yeah, to read. A Jew who has no wife cannot be called a man. Oh, really? Interesting. Okay. So, yeah, they did censor the Talmud because of that. Okay.
Technically true, but not.
need to understand exactly what this means. So you relate sex differences when you're trying to define a woman to the difference in size between the sperm and the egg. And an egg is pretty small and it doesn't look like much of an investment, but a sperm is way smaller. Mm-hmm. But the thing that's so interesting about that is that you could say that difference is fractal in nature, is that it's echoed at every single biological level all the way up the chain to overt behavior, right? And so the definition of a woman, the definition of female, maybe even more broadly, female is the sex that invests more, is compelled to invest more in sex and reproduction. And reproduction wouldn't be just sex. This is another thing that the narrower evolutionary biologists get wrong. I think it's one of the flaws in Dawkins' thinking, for example, is that you can reduce reproduction to sex, but that's foolish because human beings have a high investment strategy in relationship to the propagation of their children. And so reproduction for human beings doesn't end with sex. For mosquitoes, it ends with sex.
Right.
For human beings, it just starts with sex.
Right.
And we have an 18-year investment. And at least the first 3 years of that falls,
This is what Paul Vanderklay quoted in his video. And yeah, I mean, all of this stuff is important.
Say by necessity more heavily on women, and really heavily on women. Right?
Right.
I think they say among chimpanzee females, the chimpanzee mother carries its infant something like 500 miles clasped to its chest in the first year, right? And so a woman, not another issue maybe too, is that is a woman a single organism or is a woman a part of the mother-infant dyad?
Right.
So
Well, so
that's where he uses the word dyad, and he's really, I mean, again, I think a married couple, and it's funny, like Antonio now has a kid. I mean, this stuff is so fundamental. And the fact of what they're saying, like what they discuss here, is just completely obvious and true. Yeah, dude, just if you haven't watched this entire interview, I highly recommend it. And actually, the half an hour that's behind the Daily Wire paywall is even better.
Yeah. It's funny. I have a friend whose husband, it's the second marriage for him, first for her. Mm-hmm. So they are negotiating if they can have another. He has 2 kids. If they can have another child, they're working on finding it out if that's possible. And I hope so, because you watch the dialogue between people, and there is still, even this day and age, something very vital about a couple wanting to have a child. You know, It's funny that they were resigned to no, and now, they're married and kind of going, why don't we look into it? And it's deeper than just Yeah, it's not there is something about even them holding a conversation around that
Mhm.
that creates a bond, which is weird. Yeah.
So actually, I went to Coroneus Phocis, Brent's video channel. I'm gonna put a link in the chat. he he hadn't made videos for a while, and he started making videos again. Apparently, he made a couple of videos 5 months ago. He doesn't make videos very often. And if you haven't watched, like, I highly recommend at least the first, like, his first series, and it's all about the pill and stuff. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I want to have more of a discussion about the contents of all of these videos, but
Go on and
what?
I'll go on and subscribe to his channel when we're done.
Brent, I mean, he's a really interesting and smart guy. Yeah. Yeah. I'm not sure. I mean, I'm not sure if it's worthwhile watching this video because honestly, I don't want to interrupt it. Like, just go watch the video. And I almost bought her book because I want to read it, but I'm guessing, like, everything in that video is stuff. The only thing I did not know, which was shocking and important, was that apparently when you're on the pill, your body shuts off your stress response.
Really?
Yeah. Which is really, really bad. And they talk about it. I watch the video. I mean,
I'll go watch the video.
Yeah, everybody should watch this video. Yeah. This has been a very strange stream, including me going off.
Going off to visit.
Yeah, going off to have that visit with Jack and his family. Yeah, very funny, Antonio. But actually, on Fountain of Comfort, we're supposed to be talking about psychology. And honestly, this is really important stuff about psychology. But my recommendation is first and foremost to watch the interview. If you have not watched this interview between, and I hadn't, I only saw it because Paul Vanderklay posted on Twitter about it. It's important. It's far, far, far more important than most of the stuff people talk about.
So why do you, and aside from the little bit we've talked about, why do you say that?
Well, it's for multiple reasons. One is the information is actually important. Like, it goes back to my discussion with Brent. The topic itself is important, but B, recognizing that we're not properly discussing these necessary events is important. So, like, on multiple levels, right? first of all, the fact that we don't know this stuff. Second, the failures in our society, which has led to us not knowing this stuff.
Yeah.
And both are incredibly important. One, that we don't we're not paying attention like we should be to all of the various things that they talk about. And B, the failure in our society to actually pay attention to this. And C, the fact that Peterson and this Dr. Hill spend a lot of time talking about how they're going to get canceled. I got the impression that she has basically prepared herself for being canceled now. Like, she's like, okay, this is the part in my career where I'm willing to risk it all and see where it goes. And I don't know where it's gonna go, but I would definitely. I mean, she's not on Twitter. She's on Instagram mostly, apparently.
Okay.
She hasn't been making the rounds, as far as I know, of the usual suspects. Trigonometry would be one of the places I would expect her to be on. Actually, who should be interviewing her is Benjamin Boyce and his wife, because his wife is very interested in psychology, and Boyce has been very involved in the gender stuff. There's lots of people who I think Boyce is large enough for her to go on his channel. Yeah, Benjamin Boyce would be a very good candidate for her to go, on. But yeah, go watch the things, people. Go watch. Yeah.
What would you like to see come out of this? If everybody, even just everybody that you know, watches this and starts talking about it.
Well, I mean, there isn't much we can do. Well, first of all, at least some young women hopefully will not be lied to, which would be nice. One of the things Peterson talks about is how young women are lied to so much about what will make them happy in life. And they really are lied to a lot about that, right? And so that would just some parents guiding their kids better, that would already be a good thing. Women making more informed decisions, like being meaningfully informed about the results of messing with your hormones and messing with the hormones of your children, would be really, that would be good too. But I think we need to become cognizant of how our supposed scientific structure has stopped being scientific, and it's been captured by a lot of political ideologues. To go back to the Harvard thing, the president of Harvard, I think his last name is Summers, said very uncontroversial stuff, and he was forced to resign. And Claudine Gay has not yet been forced to resign. I think she will be. I think she's been way too damaged by more the plagiarism stuff than anything else. But
Yeah.
yeah. So, but ultimately, I mean, I think, I mean, my hope is that it becomes a lot bigger than just us. I think there's a lot of women who took the pill without being properly informed of how it's of all of the possible side effects.
I know I did 1 year just.
Yeah.
I also know people who did because their systems were not behaving properly, and therefore it was being used to try to jumpstart normal.
To regulate it. Yeah. But she also mentions some people go on the pill for acne. And
Actually, yes, that was big back. Yeah,
yeah,
I remember that too.
like that's idiotic. And apparently the pill is over the counter now. That's
Okay.
what she said. I did not know. I don't know where it's over the counter. I don't know if it's
got to still be behind the pharmacy wall. You just don't need a doctor prescription kind of thing. Because I can't see them having it just sit on a pharmacy, shelf in the middle of nowhere.
According to the nonprofit Free the Pill, birth control pills are already available over the counter in more than 100 countries, including Mexico and the United Kingdom. But in the United States, birth control pills have only been available by prescription since they were first approved in 1960. So I guess it's only over the counter in the UK and Mexico.
Year June, Canada is a no, unless they've changed it since last year June. Still needs a doctor's prescription. That's because different pill brands contain unique hormone levels, which are not right for every woman. So, yeah. So they still want you to actually have an intelligent conversation about it with somebody.
Well, that would be nice, but again, I don't know. I really don't know. Okay, I think I am going to end the stream because I think people should go and actually listen to the full thing.
Good chatting. I will start making lists of questions I have on topics that you may be going to discuss.
Okay.
There's a ton of things out there, and people should be talking about stuff.
There is.